Warren Buffett's 2 rules of investing. Number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. In this educational episode, I'm going to address what is my take on savings and investments versus Dave Ramsey's approach. Get ready. I'm going to share with you some insights into my background and experience and why I approach things differently than Dave Ramsey does. One of us isn't wrong. I think we're both right, but you need to choose which one is the best approach for you to take. So I'm Doug Andrew. I've been a financial strategist and retirement planning specialist now for nearly 5 decades. And from my understanding, I've been helping people optimize assets and minimize tax and empower their authentic wealth for probably as long as Dave Ramsey's been giving financial advice. And my understanding is that we both had negative experiences, financial setbacks years ago, probably the same era, the 1970s, the 1980s. And Dave decided to pound the key, get out of debt as fast as possible, invest your money in mutual funds, in the market. And if the market is volatile, just hang in there. The market always comes back. And I've heard him say you should average 12%. Now, let me just say that's how I started out. I started in 1974, and I was a huge proponent of buy term insurance and invest the difference. And pretty soon down the road in 30, 35 years, you'll have enough money investing the difference that you don't need insurance anymore later in life. Well, I found that a lot of mega wealthy people were buying more life insurance than ever when they were in their 60s and 70s. And it wasn't just for death benefit for estate tax. It was to accumulate their money tax-free and be able to access their money tax-free. And they were earning rates of return, between 6 and 8% net cash on cash. And so that's when I got my big epiphany back in 1980. So from 1974 to 1980, I ended up being responsible for over 3,000 clients in 13 Western states, and I actually licensed and trained over 1,000 individuals who were also out there telling people to buy term insurance and invest the difference by diversifying and dollar cost averaging in a mutual fund portfolio. So we were trying to earn an average of 12%, like Dave says you should average. Well, people weren't averaging that, but let's assume you could. I began to realize, and so did E.F. Hutton, which was not an insurance company, they were a brokerage firm, that in order to try to earn 12%, you've got to try to time the market and what have you, and you can't panic. Most people can't handle that because most people, when the market starts to head down, especially 20, 25, 30%, they say enough already and they sell low, and then they hang on and wait till it's up here, and then they buy high. And so that's why Dalbar says the average person with money in the market is only earning 3.49%. Now, Dave Ramsey says, you would earn 12% if you hung in there. Actually, Dalbar, who studies the market, says that at any 20-year period, if you did not panic and you bought and held, you would average more like 9.14%. Now, that's before tax. So let's go back to this. Let's just assume you could earn 12%, like Dave says. Now, did you ever play red light, green light when you were a kid? Yeah, so you know that sometimes you take some steps forward and some steps back. So I realized that with money in mutual funds, sometimes we might make 20, 25% gains. You may take 20 steps forward, and then the next year, the market comes down. In a 10-year period, there's usually 7 up years compared to 3 down years. So 3 of those years, 30% of them, you're taking steps back. In the decade from 2000 to 2010, we had 5 down years. You were taking steps backward half of the time and forward, and that's why it's called the lost decade, because people who started out with $1 million in the year 2000, they saw that $1 million dwindle in value down to $600,000 from 2001 to 2003. It took till 2007 to come back to $1 million again, to break even. Then in 2008, they saw that million lose 40% again down to 600,000. And it actually took until 2012 to come back to $1 million. Now, people using indexing, which is one of my favorite strategies, did not lose a dime after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, nor in 2008. They were cheering. And at the end of that 12-year period, their million had grown to 2.5 million, some even 3 million, versus those who have their money in the market. Hang in there, the market always comes back. So I give a lot of thought to Warren Buffett's statement, don't lose money. Easier said than done, maybe, but I learned how to do that using indexing. And I think Dave Ramsey and his team think that I'm talking about index mutual funds. No, people who have their money in an index mutual fund like the S&P 500 would have lost 40% in that index mutual fund from 2001 to 2003, and again lost 40% a second time in that decade in 2008. That's an indexed fund. Your money is diversified in the S&P 500, but you would have lost 40% twice. Indexing is a strategy. An index fund is a commodity, okay? So what I realized is if you could earn 12%, that's not what you're netting. If you could really average 12%, and this was really E.F. Hutton's idea, if you take 12 steps forward, so let's say you accumulate $1 million nest egg, and let's say you could earn 12%. You theoretically ought to be able to withdraw $120,000 a year without depleting your $1 million nest egg if you're earning 12%. You with me? Well, E.F. Hutton said, what are we thinking? You pull out $120,000, you're not netting $120,000 in a tax-deferred IRA or 401k. You have to pay tax on that. And most people who are savers are not in a lower tax bracket when they retire. So that's not been the proper advice for years. You know, a step in the right direction is a Roth, but I've never owned an IRA or 401k, never will. I've never owned a Roth. My favorite vehicle knocks the socks off of a Roth. It has the 2 benefits of a Roth and 4 additional benefits that Roths will never have. But getting back to this analogy, this metaphor, E.F. Hutton said, if you pull out $120,000, most Americans, between federal tax and 41 out of 50 states has a state income tax. I work with a lot of California people who are wealthy. They are at least in a 33% effective tax bracket. So they pull out $120,000. They pay tax of a third, okay, $40,000 to net $80,000 to buy gas, groceries, prescriptions, golf green fees, and what have you. But wait a minute. The asset manager, the type that Dave Ramsey refers to, they usually charge at least 1% to manage that $1 million. 1% is 10 grand. If you subtract taxes and fees, you're earning 12 and you're only netting 7. You're taking 12 steps forward and 5 steps back and you're netting 7% or $70,000 to buy gas and groceries. E.F. Hutton back in 1980 said, what are we thinking? Let's go to the multi-trillion-dollar insurance industry, the backbone of America. And they've weathered the Great Depression with flying colors. And in 2008, not one single legal reserve insurance company went under when 400 banks did. And let's put the money in those and let's do something different. Let's buy term and invest the difference under a tax-free umbrella. But instead of trying to get this much insurance for the least premium, let's do the opposite. Let's take the least amount of insurance the IRS will let us get away with and put in the most premium the IRS allows. And this turns into a tax-free cash cow for living benefits. And so back in 1980, when I saw that, I thought, okay, this is buy term, invest the difference on steroids, because I had clients put in $500,000 and they were immediately earning 11, netting 10. And frankly, they've been averaging that ever since with indexed universal life and by rebalancing. So if they were earning 11 and netting 10, only 1 percentage point, was allocated to pay for the cost of the insurance, which the IRS said had to be there in order for it to be tax-free under 3 sections of the code, 72E, 7702, and 101A, which say that money inside of a permanent life insurance policy accumulates tax-free. You can access that money tax-free, and when you die, it blossoms and transfers income tax-free, okay? Now, nothing else does that in the Internal Revenue Code. But what Hutton realized is you're trying to take the least amount of insurance and put in the most money to use it for living benefits. So I had people putting in $500,000 and immediately started pulling out 50 grand a year tax-free. Basically, they've been doing it ever since. If you put in $500,000, the IRS said the amount of insurance is only about $1 million, only double that. Well, people say, who pays $500,000 for $1 million of life insurance? And Hutton said, our clients do, because you're not interested so much in the death benefit, you're interested in the tax-free accumulation and access. And if you structure it correctly and fund it properly, you can earn 11 and net 10. I have averaged 11.17 and netted 10.07 cash on cash. Every $1 million that I accumulate inside of cash value inside of an indexed universal life policy at retirement can generate $100,000 a year of tax-free income. You would have to be earning 15 or 16% in a mutual fund to pull that out and after tax and fees to net 10. I don't want to go through the volatility and the risk in the market to have to earn 16 to net 10 when I only need to earn 11 and net 10 in a property structured indexed universal life. Now, Dave and his team, maybe they just don't understand this, but they go, well, I've never seen an insurance policy do that. I can show you hundreds of them who have performed, like I've indicated. The point is this. When I put in $500,000, the insurance company is only charging me for the net amount at risk if the original death benefit is $1 million. If I don't need income right off the bat, that $500,000 at an average return that I've averaged since 1980, 9.6, let's say, will double in 7.5 years. When my $500,000 that I put into the insurance policy doubles to $1 million, the insurance company is not charging me for insurance anymore. I am self-insured. I have bought term and invested the difference tax-free, and now I am self-insured, usually within 12.5 years in a property structured indexed universal life that's maximum funded. So using Dave's approach, buy term, invest the difference, the mutual funds, after tax, it takes 25 or 30 years before you could let go of the insurance. Here, I'm self-insured. The cash value equals the death benefit in 12.5 years, 15 years at the longest for most people who set these up correctly. So, yeah, I'm still a big proponent of buy term, invest the difference, but I do it tax-free. And I get self-insured sooner, in about half the time, than a lot of the advisors that Dave Ramsey instructs and teaches. Does that make sense? Now, again, I'm not here trying to attack Dave, but I need to clarify, because people are always asking me on this channel, Doug, who's telling the truth? Well, we're probably both telling some truths. It's just which approach do you want to take? I would rather have tax-free accumulation and only have to earn 11 to net 10 instead of have to earn 16 to net 10. But the sad fact is, Dalbar says the average person, because they buy and sell at the wrong time, they panic, they're only averaging 3.49%. And this is what precipitated the 4% rule in the financial services industry. Because people are only averaging 3.5% on their mutual funds, they tell their broker-dealers, and the broker-dealers tell their reps, do not illustrate any more than a 4% payout in retirement without the client signing a hold harmless that they won't sue us for them outliving their money. Because they're only earning 3.5 is the reality, because they're buying and selling at the wrong times. So if you had $1 million nest egg, and you could only pull out 4% or $40,000 a year, and you have to pay tax, even in a 25% bracket, you're only netting 3% or $30,000. You subtract 1% in fees, you're only netting 2%. Do you want to net 2% or do you want to net 10? It's a no-brainer. And so this is critical for you to understand, and this is the difference between Dave Ramsey's take, put your money in the market, hang in there, the market always comes back. It's not averaging 12 according to Dalbar, it's averaging 9. If you could average 9, you're only netting 6% after tax, 5% after fees. I can earn 11 and net 10. I can earn twice as much by using indexing. Indexing allows my money to participate when the market goes up and not lose one dime when the market goes down. Now, if this is intriguing you, I don't have time in this episode to explain indexing, but I'll gift you this book and you can learn more. This is called The Laser Fund, and it's actually 2 books in one. This side has all the charts and graphs and explanations, 14 chapters, about 200 pages. If you learn more by stories, you flip it over to this one. And this has about 100 pages, 12 chapters with 62 chicken soup for the financial soul stories on how to use maximum unfunded indexed universal life structured correctly and funded properly. Then it's deemed a laser fund. And you can use it for all kinds of financial goals, not just retirement, college funding for your kids, working capital for business, real estate management. This is where I keep my assets for liquidity, safety, and predictable rates of return, and I prefer tax-free. That's why laser means liquid assets safely earning returns. Go to laserfund.com. Contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that cost. I'll fire out a hard copy to you. There's options there to listen and learn, watch and learn. But this is about you. Check out the webinars we teach on a regular basis, and you can even set up an appointment to talk to a specialist to see how these strategies may help you save and invest like smart, savvy people do. So this is about your future. You choose.